whispers are spreading again, whispers that refuse to die. Tupac Shakur, the rap legend the world mourned in 1996, might not be gone at all. And this time, the rumors don't stop at secret sightings or grainy photographs. They're pulling another name into the storm, Sean Diddy Combs. Fresh speculation suggests that while Diddy is fighting for his empire in court, Tupac's story might not be finished. From Harlem street corners to internet forums, the question keeps resurfacing. Was Tupac's death an elaborate illusion? One of the greatest vanishing acts in music history? If there's one name that's suddenly carrying more baggage than beats, it's Sean Diddy Combs. Once celebrated as hip-hop's ultimate mogul, the man who built Bad Boy Records into an empire is now making just as many headlines in courtrooms as he ever did on stage. Over the past year, federal agents, prosecutors, and an army of attorneys have turned their gaze on Diddy. And what they've uncovered sounds less like the story of a music executive and more like the plot of a crime drama. The accusations are heavy: racketeering, trafficking, a string of lawsuits that allege everything from financial fraud to disturbing behavior at private parties. Prosecutors are painting a picture of a man who wasn't just reckless, but who may have run his business like a criminal enterprise, using music as a mask for something much darker. Mansions raided, digital files seized, former allies suddenly stepping into the spotlight with confessions and claims. Diddy's lawyers, of course, deny it all. They argue he's being targeted because of his fame, that every new allegation is exaggerated, twisted, or outright fabricated. But here's the problem: the legal pressure isn't letting up. Each time one fire is put out, another sparks somewhere else. Insiders whisper that millions are being spent just to keep up with the legal defense. 3 law firms on retainer, investigators digging into decades of deals, and witnesses that prosecutors believe can finally crack the story wide open. And while all this is happening, a strange ripple effect is spreading through the industry. Old rumors are being dusted off. Old rivals are being named. And at the center of it all is a single, uncomfortable question. Did the fall of Diddy's empire accidentally reopen the mystery of Tupac Shakur? September 7th, 1996. The Las Vegas Strip was buzzing after a Mike Tyson fight. Tupac Shakur, riding with death row boss Suge Knight, was at the height of his fame and his paranoia. Then came the shots. 4 bullets hit Tupac. He was rushed to the hospital, and 6 days later, the world was told he was gone. But almost from the very beginning, cracks started to show in the official story. The coroner's report listed his height and weight completely different from what everyone knew. The so-called autopsy photo looked grainy, staged, almost off. And the cremator who supposedly handled Tupac's body, he retired the very next day and vanished with cash in hand. Fans started asking questions that never really went away. Why was Tupac's bulletproof vest missing that night? How did Suge Knight, sitting right beside him, escape with barely a scratch when more than a dozen shots were fired? And in a city packed with tourists, how did no one catch the getaway on camera? The official narrative said one thing, but the unanswered details, the strange coincidences, and the missing evidence only fueled the belief that Tupac's story didn't end in Las Vegas. If the Vegas story didn't add up, the rumors about Cuba took it to another level. For years, whispers have claimed Tupac slipped away from the hospital and boarded a secret flight out of the country. The trail, according to conspiracy theorists, led straight to Havana, where his aunt Assata Shakur, a political activist and fugitive, has been living under protection since the 80s.
When certain FBI agencies are looking for you, the first thing they're gonna do is block the airport so you can't travel out. So the best way to escape is through helicopter.
Enter Michael Nice, a man tied to the Black Panthers, who poured gasoline on the fire. Nice claimed he was part of the extraction team. He described bribing hospital officials, arranging a private jet, and flying Shakur out of the US alive. According to his account, Tupac was co-piloting the plane, first landing in Barbados before being moved quietly into Cuba. It sounds like a spy thriller, But Michael Nice insisted it was real. Then, just as he promised to release proof, he was found dead under mysterious circumstances. To conspiracy believers, that wasn't coincidence. It was a cleanup job. From there, the stories only grew louder. Locals in Havana claim to have spotted Tupac strolling the streets. Blurry photos and shaky videos popped up online, some showing him older, heavier, sometimes even smiling for selfies. Most of them were debunked, but the very possibility that Tupac was alive and living in exile was enough to keep the myth alive. And if Michael Nice was telling the truth, then what the world saw in Vegas wasn't an end, it was an escape. Suge Knight wasn't just in the car that night, he was behind the wheel, and his role in Tupac's story has fueled endless speculation. Some believe Knight was the target, with Tupac caught in the crossfire. Others argue the opposite, that Suge orchestrated the whole thing. Here's why it gets messy. Suge owed Tupac millions in royalties. Tupac was planning to leave Death Row Records to start his own label, which would have been a financial disaster for Knight. That motive alone has kept the conspiracy machine turning. But what really set the internet on fire were Suge's interviews from prison. More than once, he hinted that Tupac might not actually be dead. In one famous clip, when asked about the shooting, Suge smirked and said, "Tupac's not dead. You know, he's somewhere else." He never clarified if he was joking, protecting secrets, or just stirring the pot, but the damage was done. Some theories even suggest Suge helped stage the escape. Think about it. He was right there in the car, yet survived without a single major injury, despite bullets flying everywhere. To believers, that's proof the shooting was planned, controlled, and maybe not what it seemed. For skeptics, though, Suge's comments are just classic Knight. Loud, controversial, and built to keep his name in the headlines. But for those who still hope Tupac made it out alive, Suge's words are some of the strongest fuel they've got. Nearly 3 decades later, the Tupac mystery isn't just old hip-hop folklore. It's resurfacing because of timing. Diddy isn't just facing lawsuits anymore, he's fighting for his legacy in court. Every raid, every indictment, every crumbling business deal has fans connecting dots that were once dismissed as just conspiracy talk. And here's the real kicker. If there's even a chance that Tupac survived, it completely flips the narrative of the East Coast-West Coast war. It means Diddy may have been set up as the villain in a story that was never what it seemed. His so-called empire, worth hundreds of millions, now looks less like a triumph and more like a house of cards built on secrets. For hip-hop, the stakes couldn't be bigger. Imagine if Tupac really did stage his exit. His comeback would be the most explosive return in music history. But if the myth finally unravels and proves false, then decades of culture were shaped by a ghost. Either way, Diddy's downfall isn't just his personal collapse, it threatens to rewrite how the entire industry remembers the 1990s. So, what do you think? Are these just wild theories born from Diddy's downfall, or could there really be more to Tupac's story than we've been told? If you want to stay on top of the biggest twists in Hollywood and hip-hop, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Papaya Room. We've got more stories coming your way.